As we transition from energy to food, and our land use, our food system is the #1 breaker of planetary boundaries. It is just our current industrialized food system is a real problem, and yet we have the solutions. So I'm very, very excited about our next session because we have our friend Kate Geoghegan, who's a longtime advisor to the forum and dear friend, and I'm chair of her board at Food and Planet, where I'm very honored to work with her as an energy person by training to now be working more and more in the food space. It's a real pleasure to get to learn from her. And then also we have Grace Reiter, who is class of 2025 at Arizona State University, where like so many of the students there, she is an incredible leader already as an entrepreneur, as a student government leader, and beyond. And so please join me in welcoming both Kate and Grace to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, so much, and the Sun Valley Forum. And thank you to our community for coming out. I've seen a lot of locals, and it's so nice. I'm so jazzed to shift the conversation a little bit to food and health. As a registered dietitian, I think there's a couple health professionals that I've seen here, but I love de-siloing and bringing these communities together so that we can really find those intersection points that let us all get to where we want to go faster. But I also love food because for most people, food will be the most intimate way that they connect with these topics. Everyone has to eat. They eat on a daily basis, what they choose, what their senses are. So that's a really tangible, tactical, approachable entry point in a way that some of these other concepts, while super important, at least in my 2 decades in this intersection, that's almost harder sometimes for people to grasp onto, and food's a really great touch point. So I just wanted to share one thing that, as Amy and I were talking, some context setting of how we at Food and Planet, we were co-founded by 4 dietitians in 2020, and our theory of change is really that human potential, if we're really unlocking human potential, we have to evolve how we think about healthy food and healthy diets and healthy food ways and food systems. And so we created and utilized this framework, the 4 dimensions of what are healthy and sustainable diets. So as several conversations have percolated about how dietary shift really is on the menu of a real piece, the lens we use includes sociocultural aspects of sustainable diets, the nutrition, that yellow bar that we were trained in clinically as nutrition experts, widening that lens with planetary, which we've heard a lot about, especially in some of these tracks, and then the economic making sense for everyone, not just the companies and the eaters, but the people in the supply chain who produce our food and who are workers in the supply chain. So bringing this holistic piece is something that we do at Food and Planet to widen that lens of what is healthy food and healthy diets. And in very much the same way, I was chatting with Jason backstage because I'm like, oh my God, the microbiome of the soil, of the forest. Of course, raise your hand if you've thought about your own microbiome in your gut. It's really, such a hot topic right now. And so the connections of eating and producing a diet that creates deep resilience in us starts with how we produce that food and how we stored that land and those animals as part of that system. And food is more than just the nutrition facts panel. It's information that tells our cells how to behave. And if we really think that that story and that molecular signaling is happening throughout the food system, from how we produce the food to the animals that we use to graze, or even eating a hamburger without guilt, which I'm really excited because one of the coming up panels is going to talk about that. That meat as a term is like a very commodity term, and there's many differences in what that meat is and how what the nutrition and health contributions and what role it can play in restoring a planet. So I just invite you to be curious. I invite you to kind of sit in some wider thinking for this. And as we kick it off, I'm really stoked to introduce Grace Reiter. I have a daughter who's a rising sophomore, and Grace is a rising senior. So I love to see this initiative with your generation. Is just amazing. Grace is, as you know, co-founder and CFO of Verdantt Fresh. So I have 3 questions in the 1 minute we have. Your TikTok generation. My daughter, I know TikTok is how you guys communicate. What would you say is your TikTok elevator speech to what you're doing and what you're building?
Yeah, of course. So Verdantt Fresh is a 2-pronged solution to food waste and food insecurity. We have an app and a physical system. So the physical system kind of functions as like a fresh food vending machine located in food deserts and dense urban areas. And our fresh food app has a lot of different features, including recipe suggestions, and it also gives you kind of a profile of what produce you have on stock, providing information on when those items will go expired, things along those lines.
Amazing. And what made you want to focus this solution of all the things as you were deciding what project? Why this one, Grace?
Yeah, for sure. So myself and the 2 other co-founders who are also ASU students, we're really excited about this project because food insecurity is a really big issue right around our community at Arizona State. So there's about 55 food deserts in Maricopa County alone. And a big part of that is due to the indigenous population in the broader Arizona region. So we were really excited about creating some sort of technological solution to this problem.
Yeah, I mean, it really is connecting with some of the dimensions, the lens that we're using at Food and Planet, linking those interconnected parts of access. Okay, last question. Oprah, who's one of my mentors, I don't know if you know who Oprah is or you're too young to know who Oprah is, but she often talks about how we all have a stage, we all have a platform, and hers happens to be bigger, but each one of us has a stage for impact. And your business and this idea is really a platform for incredible impact. But as we're sitting here today with this audience of amazing change makers, what is your ask? Do you have an ask of this audience? How can they support what you're doing?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for amplifying youth voices, and thank you to Amy and also my mentors at ASU, including Juliana Wrigley and Amanda Ellis. I think this is really important to listen to youth because we are the future. So my ask to all of you is just, I'm really looking to formulate connections, supply chain connections. We've really succeeded in the funding area the past 1.5 years. So I'm really looking forward to right now just creating food connections in this space and looking to grow Verdantt. So
I love it. Okay, you heard it. So find Grace at the break at lunch. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
We're
thank
really
you
excited.
guys.
Thanks.